Welcome to episode 154 of the Actual Astronomy Podcast, the Back in the Smoke edition. Fortunately, we're back in some smoke here. I'm Chris. Joining me is Shane. We are amateur astronomers who love looking up the nighttime sky, and this podcast is for anyone else who likes going out under the stars. So, seems like we're back in the smoke, Shane.
Yeah, it's weird. I was helping my brother move some appliances yesterday, and could notice it quite a bit during the day, and then it kind of took away the sky in the evening. All I could see last night. I was outside for quite a while last night, actually, and the only thing visible was the moon and occasionally Jupiter. Everything else was washed out. It wasn't all smoke up there. There was definitely some cloud as well. But it looks like you mentioned California here in the notes, and it looks like there's a bunch of fire activity in kind of Idaho, Montana again, mostly Montana. So it looks like though this is short-lived. Like I don't think we'll have to deal with it for much longer.
No, hopefully not. I mean, first of all, for anybody who's being more impacted than those of us who are just not trying to look at stars, but people whose homes may be threatened or livelihoods or lives. I mean, that's not good, but we definitely want it cleared out for them most of all. But as our wind shifts direction, we'll probably be back in the clear skies here before too long.
Yeah, exactly. I think Monday night here is supposed to be pretty clear, and then I think we have a bit of a clear stretch after that. So hopefully get some good looks at Jupiter and Saturn, because we probably only have a few weeks left, I think, of decent observing of those two planets before they start getting too low in the west, because they're not that high right now, at least for you and I. I want to get as many good views in as I can before they're done for the year.
Yeah, well, if it looks like it's going to be good tomorrow night, it does. If it's panning out, then I may just come back out here because I have a long day tomorrow. I start so early. There's no point even trying to get up and go to work because it's like a very early start for me anyway. And so I'll be done around mid-afternoon. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just take a run out here and do a session out here. You're welcome to join me if I end up doing that.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. If it's just planetary observing, I don't mind the backyard then for convenience factors. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm all set up out here, so it's actually easier for me to drive here and observe than it is to set up in the backyard because I don't have any telescopes at home. So.
Oh, yeah, that makes it difficult to observe that.
Yeah. I got up at 4 a.m. I had hope.
Today?
But the hope was quickly that. Yeah. I could see two stars. I think one was Cirrus. Maybe one was like Rigel or something like that. But they were cutting through the trees. And again, it's not very clear. Even if there was no smoke, it wouldn't be that clear. Between the smoke and the cloud, it's not that clear at all here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, the other thing I saw last night was a space station. It transited overhead, and that was it. Although the moon did look very cool. It sort of had that orangey to red tone to it. This time of the year, I think we're getting into the harvest moon, I think. And, our harvest moon it's quite pretty when it rises. It has that orangey tint when it's lower in the atmosphere, but because of the smoke last night, it was orange all night.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm just thinking now, I think we're going to get together and work on my mount. So I may be stealing views from you tomorrow night instead of coming out here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. No problem.
We're still on for that.
Yeah, we can take a look at your mount. I still haven't watched any of those YouTubes. I've been busy, beyond busy. But
that's okay.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I was kind of scrambling here, getting online out here. The internet is spotty at best. Took me a little while. So my mount has had some issues. I did sort one of them out, and that was with the little Celestron power tank. And I'm not really sure why I couldn't get it powered on last weekend, but I did get it powered on here just before we recorded. And I don't know, I kind of didn't have things together, and maybe I just got some moisture something on the cable, and it just didn't complete the connection or something, because I did have the battery on when I tried it, but just tried it sitting here right before we recorded and had power, no problem, and had power through the other ways. And yeah, anyway, so looks like power isn't an issue. It's still just that that binding sound, I guess, is the only way to put it.
Yeah. Well, once we open it up, hopefully we can find the cause of it and rectify it. If it is something just as simple as cleaning it out, like some metal filings, that'll be awesome, because that's easy. If it's something else, I guess we'll have to figure it out when we know more.
Yeah, I think it'll be obvious once we take the plastic cover off. Then we should be able to see there's two spots. There's like a motor and a set of gears and that sort of thing. And people seem to take them apart and just clean them, and then report no problems after they do that. So I kind of think that's probably what's happening there. So yeah, fingers crossed. I'm happy the power tank isn't an issue. Got a question for you on the power tank live on the air.
Yeah.
So it's good. It has two USB connectors.
Yep.
One of the USB connectors says 5 volt / 2.1A. The other one says 5 volt 1A. What does that mean?
Oh, gee. Well, I think with the AB amps, I don't know. But like 2.1 is also like a USB standard. I don't know what that means. I don't have mine handy. My power tank is in a closet, and otherwise I would look at it, but I don't recall seeing that on mine. I've had mine for a few years, so maybe it's a new thing that they put on there.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because I thought that was, and then I saw 1A, but they both look like they're the same size. So maybe they just ran out of silk screen.
Yep, maybe.
Something like that. So I'm sitting here, I'm watching the leaves coming down. They're coming down. They were coming down last week. Now the leaves that were coming down last week are completely off those two trees. And I can see other leaves coming down off the other trees. The bushes still have mostly green leaves on them, but it's strange. I don't, we haven't had any weather below zero, just one day where we touched zero briefly, and then we're up to 30 degrees yesterday. I mean, it was downright hot. So 33 here, actually.
Yeah, we hit 33 here in the city as well.
Yeah, pretty warm. So it is different here, though, like as far as the temperature swings go, because you go right from being high 20s, low 30s. We get more and more cooler days, but nothing really that cold. And then suddenly you'll see like snow in the forecast, and you think there's no way it can snow. That's impossible. You'll get the 2-week forecast here next week, and there'll be snow in there somewhere. There always is at the end of September. And sure enough, I can't recall the year where we didn't get some snow the first 2 weeks of October, just even a few centimeters. It's mind blowing to think here we are sleeping with all the windows and doors open kind of thing. And in 3 weeks, you could be shoveling your deck off,
Yeah, it can come quickly. Usually, though, the snow that actually stays doesn't come until much later, November timeframe. So hopefully we have an extended fall, and we can observe in relative comfort in terms of warmth.
Yeah. I was talking to one of the neighbors yesterday, and they were instructing me how to keep this place warm for the winter so we can do astronomy out here. So we're getting all set up for that.
Awesome. Looking forward to that.
Should be good. So you've got some big news.
Yeah. So I've been on this Binoviewer path, or returning to the Binoviewer path, and I've mentioned it on quite a few episodes. And I guess probably the last update was I ordered the Baader Max Bright 2, but the supply chain issues that many industries are experiencing is applicable to the astronomy hobby as well. And good luck trying to find a pair of these Max Bright Binoviewers. So I'm on a wait list. I really can't get a clear answer as to when I will receive this. It was supposed, I ordered it in May, and at that time it was supposed to come, I think by July, sometime in July. So, we're 2/3 of the way through September, and I still haven't received it. And I can't really, like I say, I really can't get a clear answer as to even like a ballpark time frame when it might come. So with all of that being said, one of my astronomy friends or acquaintances contacted me. He's an older gentleman that has been in the hobby for a long time, but some health issues are preventing him from using all of the gear that he has. So he's selling a lot of it. And part of that is a Dinkmeyer Binoviewer. I'm not sure which version it is. It's one of the earlier ones. Like it might be the Dinkmeyer Standard or maybe a Dink 2. I'm not sure. But anyway, he asked if I was interested. And I said, well, yeah, I think I am. Because, I'm not sure if or when I'll get this Beta Max Bright. And, when it comes to some of this gear, like we've said before, you kind of split hairs when you start, switching and upgrading and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know if it'll be a huge difference between what I'm getting versus the Max Bright, but that's on the way. I think I'll have it potentially this coming week. And it comes with all of the adapters, so I can use it with refractors and reflectors. And he also has an adapter to use it with the Coronado PST solar telescope.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't have a PST, but I know my Lunt does not work with a Binoviewer unless you have a bunch of special adapters. So maybe this PST thing will work on the Lunt because my little Lunt and the PST are very similar. So we'll see if that allows me to binoview there, because I think binoviewing with H alpha would be just absolutely phenomenal.
That would be.
Yeah. And then he also had some pairs of eyepieces that he asked if I would be interested in. So I said, yes, sure, throw those in too. Two matched 24 millimeter panoptics are coming with it. I already have a panoptic, but I don't think a lot of people know this, but there's two versions of the 24 millimeter panoptic. And it's it's more like generational. And the only way to really tell, well, two ways. Kind of the physical way is the undercut. I think on the newer version, one of the bevels is angled as opposed to like a sharp sort of 90-degree undercut. And then that's like one of the main identifiers. But I guess the older panoptics have a little bit more of that telltale Teleview coffee tone. It's a little warmer of a view. So anyway, I thought, but with bino viewing, I would want two 24 millimeter panoptics because that's the widest field of view that I'll get in a bino viewer. Because I think just about all bino viewers are 1.25 inches. I think there's some rare birds out there or rare unicorns that actually accept 2-inch eyepieces, but 2-inch bino viewing to me seems a little nuts because of the balance issues. Like you'd be hanging a lot of weight on the back of the telescope. You'd need a very substantial focuser to be able to handle that. Just doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, I would need to get another panoptic and these two that he's including just helped me out a little bit, and the price was quite reasonable. And then also these ones I'm far more skeptical of, but I'm getting two 13 millimeter T6 Naglers with it as well. So the reason I'm skeptical is just the eye relief. Like I think the eye relief on those is 12 millimeters. But again, the price was very reasonable, and I thought I'll give them a try, see if I don't mind them without glasses, because my astigmatism really isn't too bad, and see what they look like. And then I was also able to acquire a couple more TMB super monos, 6 millimeter and an 8 millimeter. So then I have pairs of 6s and pairs of 8s for bino viewing with those. So quite excited to get all this rolling.
That is very exciting. That is super, super cool. So maybe let's talk about why you're getting a bino viewer. Didn't you have them before?
Twice before, in fact. Yeah, I know. What am I doing, right? So where to answer that, or how to answer this? I guess so why Binoview? You know, you use two eyes instead of one. It's there's probably two primary reasons I think to do this. Number one is just comfort. Um, you know, I think all of us have experienced the kind of the eye fatigue that you get when mono viewing. You know, with one eyepiece. Like when I was out at your place, Chris, a couple of weeks ago, I started to get this eye fatigue towards the end of the night, where I actually have to hold my eyelid closed on my non-observing eye, and it just becomes more comfortable towards the end of the night, because just using those, like, I don't know, I guess those eyelid muscles like that, just, I don't know, it becomes very uncomfortable by the end of the night for me.
If you maybe you should start attaching, like, those lead weights for fishing. You can start working out with those.
Maybe that's the answer. tape them to my eyelids. So that, like, the comfort aspect is a big part of it. And then the other one, if you have like really bad floaters in your eyes, or if you have floaters that just annoy you, and those typically pop up when you're observing the planets, observing with two eyes typically gets rid of that, and then you don't have to deal with the floaters bothering you, because you usually only have floaters in one eye, or really bad in one eye, and then your brain sort of cancels that out when two eyes are being used. So those are the primary. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, no, that makes total sense.
Yeah. So anyway, I've gone down this path a couple times before. The first time was with the it's a William Optics Binoviewer. It's still being sold. It comes with a couple of eyepieces, but I couldn't. I had issues getting it to focus in some of my telescopes, and at that point in time, I really didn't feel like making the investment into multiple pairs of eyepieces, and it just didn't really appeal to me. So I sold it. And then second time around, I thought, let's give this another try, but I'll get, you know, a much better Binoviewer, and maybe the quality of that Binoviewer will convince me to start observing like this. So what I bought was the Dankmeyer Binotron 27, which is the latest Dankmeyer Binoviewer. It came with a power switch, which is like your filter slider, but it has like I think it has it because one of the issues with Binoviewers is it increases your magnification on a refractor, like by usually 1.25 times. So this power switch brought it down to 1 times. Allowed for the 1.25, but then also provided like a 1.75 or 2 times. So kind of almost like a Barlow, and you would just slide this thing to go between magnifications. So it was pretty cool. Like I had I had a pair of 24 millimeter Panoptics at that time. So I would put those in, and then I just use this power slide, or the power slide, and it worked quite well. But the thing that annoyed me was that there's definite light loss. Like I remember one night I was looking at Saturn with the Binoviewers, and views were outstanding. It was really, really nice. And then I thought, I wonder what it would look like just mono viewing. And as soon as I put in one eyepiece that was about the same magnification, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's Titan. Why didn't I see Titan before with the Binoviewer? So put the Binoviewer back in, and sure enough, Titan was there. But my gosh, like it was quite dim compared to the mono view. So that really turned me off of bino viewing, and that is one of the detractors. Is there's light loss, because 50% of the light goes into one eye and 50% of the light goes into the other eye. But because there's so many prisms within the Binoviewer, each bounce you're losing a little bit of light, and as such, the brightness of the views are diminished a little. So anyway, that was sort of I don't know. It just really turned me off. So I sold everything. And in hindsight, I should have observed a lot more with it to really determine whether or not I liked it. The Binotron 27, one of the selling features is that it's collimatable, but I found like I was having to adjust collimation way too frequently, like every session. And I don't know if I was doing something wrong, but I just that's why I kind of stopped using a refractor, a reflector, because I got sick and tired of all of the messing around with that type of stuff. And So the other thing, though, that I should have done, I only used those 24 millimeter panoptics because that was the only pair of eyepieces I had. Now, fast forward, this was years ago. So fast forward to today. I've had a lot more experience using orthos and now these TMB super monos, and I can say that there is a noticeable difference with how deep you can go. Like you do get a little bit more brightness with these eyepieces. They show you a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So, carrying or continuing down this path, I started to get curious about bino viewing with simpler glass, like with orthos and with TMB super monos. And when so this acquaintance that I'm buying the Dank from, I asked him that. I said, how do the views, like between the super monos and the panoptics and the Naglers and all this stuff, how do they differ? Like, do you see a little bit more with the simpler glass, or does more light seem to come through? And he said, without question, he felt that the simpler glass did allow more light to come through. So I thought I'd go down this path again, put together some pairs and see how much I like it, because the comfort value alone it makes it a very intriguing proposition. Like if I can get the views through the Binoviwer to a point where I'm satisfied, in terms of the brightness coming through, this may be how I do a lot of my observing, particularly from the backyard, because, planets, moon, double stars are really good objects for bino viewers. But I am extremely curious how they work under a dark sky at your site, looking at globulars and nebula and galaxies, some deep sky objects, just to see how they do with those objects.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to get going with that. So like I say, hopefully they come this week. And if it's not this week, it should be early next week. And I will have more to talk about once I start using them. And maybe just to... go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, do you think what scope do you think you'll end up using the most in?
Well, that's a good question. Like aperture, like the best combination with bino viewers is a lot of aperture. Like typically you want to use these with big reflectors. So the largest refractor I have, largest telescope I have is 120 millimeters. But I would like to try them on the TAC 76. Like lots of people bino view with small telescopes. In fact, Thomas on Cloudy Nights, he talks about how wonderful bino viewing is on his 63 millimeter telemeter, old Achromat. So any telescope can be used for bino viewing. It's just a matter of trying it out, I suppose. But so I'll likely try it on all of them, and just see how I like it. I do have quite a few pairs of eyepieces that I've put together. Like I'll have the 24 millimeter pans, I'll have the 13 millimeter Naglers, and then I have 8.5 millimeter Pentex XFs. So that sort of covers off a lot of the wide field bino viewing that I would do. But then with the simple glass, I've got 25 millimeter orthos, 18 millimeter, 12.5, 9 millimeter. So I have pairs of all of those, and then the TMB super monos, I have the 8s and 6s. So the simple glass, I've got quite a wide spectrum of focal lengths that I'll get to play around with and see how they work.
Cool.
Yep.
Sound like you were going to say something else there before sound like you're going to say something else before I cut you off there.
No, I was just going to mention the pairs that I had to play around with.
Okay. Yeah, I viewed through I think about 6 or 7 Binoviewers over the years, including at least one of yours. Yep. And I always thought like on the very first view I ever had through a Binoviewr was using I think it was a 10 or 11 inch Schmidt Cassegrain. I think it was a 10-inch Meade, and I couldn't believe it. Like you could really see so much detail, at least for my eyes anyway. I was just really astounded. Had always thought that one day I would like to have that combination of having a Schmidt Cassegrain and a Binoviwer. But like you were saying, you'd be sort of almost living in alignment, purgatory, because you'd have a lot of different lenses and prisms and that to make sure we're aligned to get it right. I don't know how long that person spent lining it all up to get it working properly, but I remember those views were quite spectacular.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about the image, like the views you get through binoviewers almost take on a 3D effect. And I can say that like images, especially like clusters, open clusters, seem to have more depth to them. But the other thing that really jumps out is the image scale really increases with these. So objects appear larger using two eyes. And then that comfort aspect, we talked about this last week when we recorded about the comfort aspect. Like if you want to make your site darker, get a chair because you'll be more comfortable and you can see more. Well, when you're viewing with two eyes, you're increasing that comfort factor again. And I don't think it necessarily allows you to go, deeper in terms of magnitude, but I do think that it allows you to see more subtle detail in the objects because, again, your comfort level is perfect. You don't have to stop looking through the eyepiece to give your eyes, a break because you're squinting with one eye closed and you're just looking like you look at anything with a binoviewer. Both eyes are open. So therefore you could just, I guess literally you could not take your eye away from the eyepiece the entire night if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fantastic. And imagine how great it will look when you finally get that 18-inch reflector that you've been pining for.
Yeah, that's probably more of a pipe dream. An 18-inch like F3 or something like that would be pretty amazing. Maybe one day, but that's nowhere on the roadmap right now.
Hey, look, I can offer you free accommodation for it. Yeah, guaranteed.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
No problem. You can keep it at my place. Yeah, it's no problem at all. Really. I just need the keys to it, and we'll be good. Yeah. Speaking of reflectors, seems like Phil placed an order for an 8-inch Dob. Phil's one of our listeners and frequent correspondents, and I think he's got an 8-inch Dobsonian, like the classic 8-inch Dob, altitude and zenith telescope. Bought it from First Light Optics. Their brand is StellaLyra, which looks like it's a revamp of the GSO line of reflectors. Did you have a chance to look at that new line they're putting out over in the UK?
No, I haven't. It sounds like though that they come very well kitted, and that line of GSO reflectors is really, really quite well known for good quality. Like basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think essentially like the Skywatchers, the Orions, they're really all like just rebranded GSOs with maybe slightly different accessories.
Yeah, although I think Skywatcher makes their own mirrors. The rest of them use like the same mirrors.
Okay.
But I think Skywatcher mirrors might just edge out the other ones. But they're all sort of mass-produced mirrors, so probably variations in from scope to scope. Could account for any differences. And I'm just reading things. I haven't looked through too many of the GSOs. I've looked through a lot of the Skywatchers, and they've all been really, really good. But yeah, we just don't see as many of the GSOs here in Canada anyway. I don't know. Have you ever looked through any of the GSOs? I think the GSOs and Orions are pretty much identical, maybe.
Yeah, I've looked through a number of Orions. In fact, Mike, his 12 inches in Orion. But the only other reflectors, like mass-produced ones that I've looked through are light bridges, 10-inch and 12-inch, and lots of Skywatchers. Again, 8-inch and 10-inch there too.
Yeah. So I'm thinking though the differences can't be that great. The one thing, it looks like with this particular StellaLyra brand, it looks like they've made a few fixes to, as the generations go by, they do make improvements. looks like they put a better focuser on it and have I think a fan and maybe some slightly better alignment capabilities and some better motions and that sort of thing. But I do notice that they're still using altitude bearings that are too small, in my opinion, anyway. And that's pretty common amongst all these mass-produced telescopes. They all tend to have undersized altitude bearings, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. It looks, it looks like a pretty sharp telescope. Yeah, nice focuser, eyepiece tray. I always like those eyepiece trays on those Dobsonians. They're just a real convenient place to have your eyepieces. Yeah, this looks like it'll be a really good telescope.
Yeah, I really think that where these type of Dobs and reflectors perform best is in like that 6 to 10 inch range, because I think that's where their production is optimized. So I think in those sizes you're really getting pretty good motion, and the undersizing isn't as impactful. If you're going from like maybe on the 8-inch, they should be 8-inch altitude bearings, and I think it has like 6-inch. So it's probably like 20% too small. So it's not like that big a difference. But they also make a 16-inch, which still has like the 6-inch altitude bearings. So now it's like almost about a third as large as it should be. So that becomes quite impactful. Because when I looked at that line, I looked at the 16-inch and I got really excited. And then I saw that the altitude bearings were the same size as on like the 8, I think, or the 10. And I was like, oh, that's too bad, because I would be excited. Because on the 16-inch, they went with a full truss design with carbon fiber tubes and a nice focuser, and it's a pretty looking scope, but they kept the altitude bearings kind of small. And once you get into the bigger models, you want to have those side panels on the rocker box. You want to have those reinforced once you get much over 10 inches, and they don't do that on that model, unfortunately. At the 6, 8, and 10 inch sizes, it won't be a problem. It'll be totally fine. 12 probably be okay, but 16-inch telescope weighing over 100 pounds sitting on 2 boards that are just screwed through another board and a base plate are not going to get enough support, I don't think, anyway. So you'd have to modify the 16-inch, which is too bad for a 2,000 I guess British pound telescope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the collimation knobs on this 8-inch too. At least on the primary, they're kind of handy.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited to hear what his reports are like. Again, I think 8-inch is probably going to be about the best of that line. So I'm excited to hear about that. And I mean, hey, if First Light Optics, who I am a customer of, if First Light Optics wants to send me one of the 16s, I'd be happy to keep it here and review it very positively as well.
I'm sure they'd love to ship one to you across the ocean.
I'm sure that wouldn't cost anything. Send it over by a carrier pigeon or something, I suppose. So yeah, that I always have always wanted one of those large, inexpensive Dobs, but once you get much above 12 or so inches, I think those motions become difficult to get just right. And you want to have nice smooth motions on the telescope.
Yeah, and it really, like anything over 12 inches really becomes a challenge to move. Like, a 16-inch, lifting that thing off the ground is, it's doable, but that's a heavy telescope, and moving it around, you probably want to start thinking about the wheelbarrow handles. So, you're just, again, you're adding a lot more to the whole setup in terms of, things you got to pack, things you got to use. But, the views that I've had through 16s and 18s and 20s are phenomenal. Like I love big aperture. I just love when it's somebody else's big aperture.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it would be awesome to have something like that. I wonder how hard it would be to tweak those altitude bearings. I hear that one thing you can do with with these StellaLyras, and I think maybe even some of the GSOs is you can balance them using those altitude bearings. They kind of slide up and down, and the online reviews I read of those scopes are that they are quite easy to balance, and it works quite well. I used to have one of the really old Celestrons that you could do that with, and they used like it was like a funny steel altitude bearing that was, I don't know, maybe only 4 inches in diameter. And it was almost like too slick, and it was really difficult to balance. But I think these ones are superior design by the looks of them. Looks like a pretty nice way to balance the telescope. Because as you know, in most Dobs, you change eyepieces and you got to hang stuff off the back or hang stuff off the front. And, it's nice to have the ability just to balance it just so, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Like with any telescope, the balance, is an issue when you're especially going from, say, a big 2-inch to a much lighter 1.25 inch. So yeah, that looks awesome. Because the other alternative is you tighten up your altitude bearings, and then the movement isn't as smooth, and you're not really winning the battle.
Yeah, kind of get that jerky action there. Yeah, that's not great. So yeah. So getting things kind of settled here, and just need to get this mount running a little bit better, and then hopefully we can smooth that out tomorrow night. I think it should be fairly simple for somebody who's as skilled as you are.
Well, let's not set too high of an expectation here. Hopefully, yeah. A lot of this stuff is, they do make it kind of somewhat, repair friendly, so that if you run into an issue, you can deal with it. So we should be able to get it fixed.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited because I do love this mount, and I thought about maybe like trying to send it back, even though it's like just a few weeks out of warranty. But I heard of extremely long turnaround times and people getting mounts back that weren't in any better condition, and they end up having just to tear it apart and just clean it. That's all they did, is clean it and put a little bit of lithium grease on there, and they were good. So I'm kind of hoping that's all that's required. So, okay. Well, do you have anything left to add to this episode, Shane?
No, that's everything.
All right. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you for joining me today, and thanks to everybody for listening.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you are interested in more information, would like to contact us, or if you would like to support the podcast, check out our website, actualastronomy.com.